thing about it is, I really don't think that it does us any good to even try to introduce the HR 40 bill into legislation because it's going to easily pass the House because the House is controlled by Democrats. There are more congressmen in the House that would vote to pass the legislation. But again, like I said, the issues that I have with that is that I don't think that if HR 40 does not include adequate monetary compensation to African descendants of slaves, then I don't think it's any good. It's no good. We don't need any more commissions and studies about American slavery and the impact that it's had on the African American race. We don't need any more of that. That's been done. It's been overstudied, and we African Americans live with it every day. We experience it every day. We know the direct impact, so we don't need any. We get the information's out there. So, like I said, no more academics. It's time for action. Also, like I said, even if they manage to include all of that and get the resolution passed in the House, the Senate would never ever vote to pass any type of slave reparations legislation because it is controlled by the Republican Party, mainly upper middle class or rich white men and women who are they just can't relate, to the African American experience. They don't have any type of compassion. They don't have any type of concerns. They don't have any type of real incentives to pass any type of slave reparations bill. And I don't think it would pass the Senate. It would get voted down. So the only options that I think at this point would be, or the only real viable options that I think that African Americans or African descendants of slaves would have is to file a class action lawsuit against the American government for slavery, 400 years of slavery, and continued systemic oppression. Um, Other than that, it would have to be passed via executive order by the President of the United States. I don't see any other way. So all of this talk, about passing the slave reparations bill at this point, I don't think it's going to be successful because it may pass the Senate, but it won't. I mean, it may pass the House, but it's not going to pass the Senate. It's just not going to do it because it's controlled by white Republicans who do not have any type of. I don't think they would support any type of slave reparations at this point. I just don't see it happening. It's not going to pass Congress. So, like I said, the only real solution or the only real way that African Americans would be able to get any type of reparations from the American government is if we file a class action lawsuit collectively and we're able to obtain a favorable judgment or fine, or our court finds the American government liable um, to us for American slavery. Um, Other than that, like I said, the president would have to sign an executive order um, to allocate funding to fund slave reparations. So that's about it. So I think at this point, the African Americans, with this upcoming election in 2020, I think that we need to have a serious discussion with any of the presidential candidates that are running for office and let them know that if you can't do anything for us as far as getting us reparations for the 400 years of slavery and the continued systemic oppression of our people, then we can't do anything for you. You won't get our votes. You won't get our support. So if you want to win this upcoming election in 2020, you would um, ensure that we get some type of monetary compensation for uh, American slavery, and that I will take it even further, is that we as African Americans would be allowed to um, give up our U.S. citizenship for adequate financial compensation and be allowed to migrate to other countries where we feel that we will be treated as first class citizens as opposed to staying here in America and continue to being treated as second class citizens. That's the only thing. That's the only real practical and viable and valid uh, resolutions that I think that we can obtain at this point. No more talk. It's time for action. And the only way that the American government will be able to right this wrong is if you compensate us for slavery and the continued systemic oppression of our people, period. And like I said, we need to make demands. African American people need to make demands to these politicians and to these presidential candidates that if you really want our vote, then you would, if you want to deliver the black vote, you need to promise us, or you need to um, be effective in making slave reparations happen at this point. So that's my opinion. Um, I just don't think there's no other way at this point. It's time for us to leave America. It's time. It's been 400 years, and it's time. It's just time. We're not going to get a fair shake over here. We're not going to. There is no equal opportunity for us over here, and I think we should be allowed the option to stay or leave, just like any other group. So that's my opinion. I'm not going to support any type of legislation or any type of bill that I just don't think that we're going to be successful in getting passed, or any type of other movements or political action that does not involve us getting compensated and us being allowed to leave the country um, in order to find a better life somewhere else than what we're having in America. So, yeah, that's me. That's my opinion.